Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Okay. So I won't take for that long. Okay, but I want to take your first aid theory. Okay, what was the last class? What was the last topic? Hmm? First aid theory. What? Sanjana?
Good.
Ma'am, first aid proper priorities.
Priorities. Aru?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, read out first aid priorities.
Assess the situation quickly and calmly. 2 protect yourself and any casualties from danger. Never put yourself at risk. Or 3 prevent cross contamination between yourself and the casualty as best as possible. 4 comfort and reassure casualties. 5 assess the casualty, identify as best as you can the injury of nature or illness affecting a casualty. 6 give early treatment and treat the casualties with the most serious life-threatening conditions fast. 7 arrange for appropriate help. Call for emergency help if you suspect serious injury or illness. Take or send the casualty to the hospital. Transfer him into the care of a healthcare professional or to a higher level of medical care. Stay with a casualty until care is available.
Hmm. Finish? Hmm. Did I give the rules and the golden rules of first aid? Rules and golden rules of first aid to Dilunai? Have I given
Yes,
you?
yes, ma'am.
Then,
Okay,
ma'am,
read out.
Yes,
Read out the
ma'am.
rules and golden rules of first aid.
do first thing first quietly without fuss or panic. Number two,
Fuse
to
নহয়,
assess.
fast. F-U-double-S.
Oh. Okay, ma'am.
F-U-double-S. Fast.
Number two, to assess the situation, given confidence, talk to him or her, listen to him or her, and reassure him or her. Number three, check ABC rule: A for airway, B for breathing, C for circulation. Number
Hmm.
four, give artificial respiration if breathing has stopped. Number five, stop bleeding if any. Number six, treat for shock. Number seven, do not attend too much. Number eight, do not allow people to clutter around. Number eight, do not remove clothes unnecessarily. And number 10, arrange for transportation for the casualty.
Hmm. Rules of first aid to লিখিছানে নাই? Check, call, care. এইটো? Do you have check, call, care? Rules of first aid.
নাই লিখা ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
নাই নেকি?
নাই লিখা।
নাই লিখা?
Ma'am,
লিখিছো,
আছে
লিখিছো।
rules of first aid.
Rules of first
আছে
aid.
ন? Read out. Read out.
Number one, check. Find out
Hmm.
what has happened and what is wrong person. Comfort the
Hmm.
victim and arrange shelter. Number two,
Hmm.
call. Arrange for professional medical aid. Number three, care. Help the victim, preferably without moving him or her.
Okay. Very good. তাৰপিছত Good Samaritan guidelines আছেনে?
Nisha ma'am?
Good Samaritan protection guidelines.
No,
Yes
ma'am.
ma'am. Teacher.
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
Someone
ma'am.
read out. Good Samaritan protection guidelines.
Indian Good Samaritan Protection Guidelines. A Good Samaritan is legal terms to someone who renders aid in an emergency to an injured person on a voluntary basis. The Ministry of Road Transport and Highway has published the Indian Good Samaritan and Bystanders Protection Guidelines in the Gazette of India in May 2015. The guidelines are to be
16 নহয়,
followed by
15. Parishta, 16 লিখিছানে 15? May 2015.
15 men 1-5.
Yes. ঠিক আছে, পড়া।
The guidelines are to be followed by hospitals, police, and other authorities for the protection of good Samaritans. Following guidelines are included: number 1, a bystander or good Samaritan, including an eyewitness of a road accident and injured to the nearest hospital and should be allowed to leave immediately. The eyewitness has to provide his address and no questions are to be asked. Number 2, the bystander or good Samaritan shall not be liable for any civil and criminal liability. Number 3, a bystander or good Samaritan. Number 3 লিখা নাই। Ma'am, number 3 এইখিনি আছে। Ma'am, আৰু লিখা নাই।
নাই লিখা। Who have written? Read out.
Number 3, a bystander or good Samaritan who makes a phone call to inform the police of emergency services for the person lying injured on the road. Number 4, the lack of response by a medical doctor in an emergency pertaining to road accidents where he is expected to provide care shall constitute professional misconduct.
Have you written the qualifications of first aider? Qualifications to লিখিছানে?
নাই লিখা।
নাই লিখা?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Qualifications of first aider?
Ma'am, লিখা নাই।
Oh, aider লিখা হৈছে ma'am.
Read out.
Qualification of first aider. Should be number 1, should be a good observer. Number 2, should be able to act quickly. Number 3, should not get panic or excited. Number 4, should have the ability to lead and control the crowd and take help from the onlookers. Number 5, should have self-confidence and ability to judge injuries to be tracked fast. Finish, ma'am.
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। এতিয়া we will start with a নতুন chapter, okay? With a new chapter, Unit 2. লিখা Unit 2, Chapter 1 complete. ঠিক আছে? Introduction to First Aid, Unit 1 complete. এতিয়া write down Unit 2. Unit 2. Write down common medical problems. Common medical problems. Common medical problems. Then you write the name of the unit. Title is hemorrhage. HAEMORRRHAGE. Hemorrhage. Underline it. HAEMORRRHAGE. Hemorrhage. Okay. Hemorrhage is also known as bleeding. Okay, bleeding. BLEEDING. Hemorrhage meaning to hoy bleeding. Bleeding means, what do you mean by bleeding? Samuel?
Blood circulation.
Ma'am, blood
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Samuel, what do you mean by bleeding?
Ma'am, blood ulai thoka tarmane.
Yes, correct. In English also someone tell me.
Ma'am, blood circulation.
Blood circulation nohoy. Samuel, you say?
Ma'am, when we cut our fingers.
Where are you moving about? Say properly.
Continuous flow of blood.
Okay, so I guess all of you understood what is the meaning of bleeding, right? So medical term is hemorrhage, or normally we call it as bleeding. Whenever blood flows out from the body through cut or wound or any kind of injury, okay, that is known as bleeding. Tarpisot likha, question number 1. Write down question number 1. What is hemorrhage? Question mark. Question number 1. What is hemorrhage? Question mark. Have you written what is hemorrhage? Write down the question. Question number 1. What is hemorrhage? Tarpisot, give a question mark. Answer. Write down the answer. Hemorrhage or bleeding. Hemorrhage or bleeding. Hemorrhage or bleeding is a flow of blood. Hemorrhage or bleeding is a flow of blood. FLOW. Flow of blood. Hemorrhage or bleeding is a flow of blood from an artery, from an AND নহয় ha, ANN, from an artery, 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 comma, vein, 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 or capillary, CAPILLARY, capillary. So what is hemorrhage? Hemorrhage or bleeding is a flow of blood from an artery, vein, or capillaries. Anybody knows what is an artery? What is an artery? Disha Deka? Disha? Do you know what is an artery? Artery, you don't know what is an artery? Farizatun, any idea? What is an artery? Mute, unmute. What is an artery?
Ma'am, the artery is are the blood vessels
that deliver oxygen.
Yes. Arteries are what? Arteries carries blood from the heart. Tumar heart opera to different parts of the body. Okay. The function of artery is to carry blood from the heart to different parts of the body. And arteries carry oxygenated or deoxygenated blood. Anyone knows? Arteries carry oxygenated or deoxygenated blood.
Oxygenated blood. Oxygenated.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct. Oxygenated blood. And veins carry oxygenated or deoxygenated blood?
Deoxygenated.
Deoxygenated.
Yes, correct. And what is the function of vein? What is the function of vein? Veins mane? Veins are what?
Vessels that carry blood towards the heart.
Artery ki hoy? Arteries, blood vessels that carries blood away from the heart to different parts of the body. Aru tumar veins ki hoy? Blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart. At a heart or different parts of the body. Yes, and veins, what does it do? Veins carry blood towards the heart. Okay, to the heart. From different parts of the body to the heart, veins carry blood. Okay. And veins carry deoxygenated blood, whereas arteries carry oxygenated blood. Okay. And what are capillaries? You know what are capillaries? Capillaries are horu blood vessels. Okay. Your blood, tumar tej to pani nisna nohoy. Okay. Your blood is not like water. Bloods are blood, your blood, RBC, WBC, bloods are formed of tiny blood vessels. Okay, horu blood vessels form blood. So those horu blood vessels are known as capillaries. Okay, tolot likha note, N-O-T-E, note. Tolot likha note, write down the meaning. Artery likha, A-R-T-E-R-Y, artery. Put a dash and write down. Blood vessels that carry blood, the blood vessels that carries blood, the blood vessels, VESSELS, the blood vessels that carries blood away from the heart, away from the heart to other parts of the body, away from the heart to other parts of the body are known as arteries. Are known as arteries, ARTERIES, are known as arteries. And তার পিছত full stop and write down it carries oxygenated blood. It carries oxygenated blood, OXYGENATED, oxygenated blood, BLOOD. Okay, oxygenated মানে কি? Oxygenated means it is a pure blood. Okay, that is rich in oxygen. It's known as oxygenated blood. Number 2 likha veins, VEINS, veins. VEINS, veins. Put a dash and write down. Veins are the blood vessels. Veins are the blood vessels. Veins are the blood vessels that carries blood towards the heart. That carries blood towards the heart. That carries blood towards the heart, HEART, for heart, full stop. It carries deoxygenated blood. It carries deoxygenated blood. It carries deoxygenated blood. তাৰপিছত লিখা capillaries, CAPILLARIES, capillaries. Put a dash and write down. Capillaries are tiny blood vessels. Capillaries are tiny, TINY, tiny blood vessels. BLOOD, blood vessels. VESSELS, capillaries are tiny blood vessels. Okay, so all these capillary, veins and arteries, you know the meaning. Okay, Jetia, if I ask you in exam, you will have to know these things. Okay, so now tarpisod, what is hemorrhage holne? Now you write types of hemorrhage. Types of hemorrhage, types, kimana types ase, ki types ase. Okay, types of hemorrhage. Write down. Any idea what are the 3 types of hemorrhage? Any idea, anyone? Anita Bor Kakoti, any idea what can be the 3 types of, or what can be the types of hemorrhage? Anita Bor Kakoti. Others, anyone, any idea? Evangenia, Lionel Lingdo. Any idea or not? Or no idea?
No, ma'am.
So see, types of hemorrhage, you already have written in what is hemorrhage. Ki likhisa tat? Hemorrhage or bleeding is a flow of blood from an artery, vein or capillary. So tumar tineta types ki ase? First hobo tumar arterial bleeding, second hobo tumar venous bleeding, third hobo tumar capillary bleeding. It is already there in the answer. Okay, write down types of hemorrhage. There are 3 different types of hemorrhage or bleeding. There are 3 different, tinita types ase. There are 3 different types of hemorrhage or bleeding. There are 3 different types of hemorrhage or bleeding. Number 1, arterial bleeding. Number 1, arterial bleeding. Number 1, arterial, ARTERIAL, RIAL, arterial bleeding. তাৰপিছত start with a bulletin. You know what is a bulletin? এটা dot দিয়া. Arterial bleeding, first dot, এটা dot দিয়া আৰু লিখা blood is bright red in color. Blood, BLOOD. Blood is bright red in color. First bulletin, blood is bright red in color. Second bulletin, it spurts at each contraction. Second bulletin, second dot, it spurts, SPURTS. It spurts, SPURTS. It spurts at each contraction. It spurts at each contraction. CONTRACTION, contraction, full stop. Second, third bulletin, third dot দিয়া এটা flow is pulsatile. Flow মানে তোমাৰ blood flow, okay? Flow, FLOW. Flow is pulsatile. PULSATILE, pulsatile. So in arterial bleeding, what are the three types? Eta ase blood or color to ki hobo? Flow is pulsatile. Pulsatile, PULSATILE, pulsatile. So in arterial bleeding, what is the first thing? That the color of the blood will be bright red, ekdom bright red color. Okay. Second point, it spurts at each contraction. Whenever there will be any kind of contraction, okay, what will happen whenever the muscle contracts or whenever the arteries contract, it will spurt. Spurt mane sudden and forceful stream, ekdom force ke ahibo tomar blood. If you are having any cut from the artery, your blood will flow. Okay, it will be very much forceful. The flow will be very much forceful. Okay. And third one is flow is pulsatile. The flow will be pulsatile in nature. Number 2, write down venous bleeding. Number 2, venous bleeding. VENOUS, venous bleeding. BLEEDING. VENOUS, venous bleeding. BLEEDING, venous bleeding. Venous bleeding. Bulletin start kora. The first dot, eta dot dia aru likha blood is dark red in color. Blood is dark red, DARK, dark. Blood is dark red in color, COLOUR. Blood is dark red in color. Second bulletin, second dot, it does not spurt. It does not spurt. It does not spurt, SPURT, spurt. It does not spurt, SPURT, spurt. Third point, steady flow. Steady mane lahe lahe, okay? Not that much lahe, but it will be slow and steady wins the race. I guess you have heard that phrase. So lahe lahe ke, okay? Steady flow, FLOW, means the blood flow will be steady. Okay? Steady flow, STEADY, steady flow, FLOW, flow. Number 3, capillary bleeding. Number 3, capillary bleeding. Number 3, capillary bleeding. Capillary, CAPILLARY, capillary bleeding. BLEEDING, capillary bleeding. Bulletin, first dot eta dia, bulletin start kora, eta first dot, blood is red in color. Blood is red in color, RED. Blood is red in color, RED, red in color. Second point, second bulletin likha, it does not spurt. It does not spurt, SPURT. It does not spurt. It does not spurt, SPURT, spurt. The third bulletin likha, slow but even flow. Slow, SLOW, slow but even flow, EVEN, slow but even flow. So these are the 3 types of hemorrhage. Okay, arterial bleeding, venous bleeding, or capillary bleeding. In arterial bleeding, what is the color of blood? Kalyan Hazarika. In arterial bleeding, what is the color of blood?
Dark red.
Dark red নহয়, bright, bright.
Bright red.
Hmm. In arterial bleeding, blood is bright red in color. In venous bleeding, what is the color of blood?
Dark
Anyone?
red. Dark
Dark
red.
Yes.
red.
In capillary bleeding,
Red.
only red, right? In arterial bleeding, at each contraction, it spurts or it does not spurt.
Stars.
It spurts. In venous bleeding,
Does not
venous
start. Does not
does not
start.
spurt. Okay, and capillary bleeding
Does not start.
does not spurt. Flow to কেনেকুৱা হয় in arterial bleeding? Slow হয়,
Pulsatile.
steady হয়, fast হয়, pulsatile হয়, pulsatile. Okay, in venous bleeding, venous
Steady flow. Steady
steady
flow.
flow. Capillary?
Slow but even flow.
Slow but
Okay.
even flow.
So I will show you one picture, huh? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So see, these are the 3 types of hemorrhage. এটা হয় তোমাৰ arterial bleeding, এটা হয় তোমাৰ venous bleeding, এটা হয়
Ma'am
তোমাৰ
cannot see.
huh?
Ma'am, screenত অহা নাই.
আচ্ছা, wait. এতিয়া
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
you can't see the screen?
No, ma'am.
Now can you see?
No, ma'am.
Now can.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Acha. So these are 3 types of bleeding. Eta hoy tumar arterial bleeding. See how does the blood comes out? It spurts. Spurt mani sudden and forceful stream. Ekdom force. See how the blood is coming out. Have you seen?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen the blood? It is so forceful. Iman basic ulai ase swa. So blood is pulsatile and the flow will be pulsatile. Okay. Veins steady flow, okay, and it does not spurt spurt nokore in veins, and capillaries also it does not spurt, and blood will be red in color, okay, and the flow will be slow. Bahut lahe ke hobo capillaries. So these are the 3 things, okay, arterial bleeding, venous bleeding, and capillary bleeding. ঠিক আছে? Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Acha. Now you write down effects of hemorrhage. Effects of hemorrhage. Sarita point ase. There are 4 points. Effect of EFFECT. Effect of hemorrhage. Number 1. The loss of red blood cells. The loss of red blood cells, RBC. The loss of red blood cells. Red blood cells mane tumar RBC. Okay. The loss of red blood cells causes a lack of oxygen. Causes a lack of oxygen to the body system. Causes a lack of oxygen to the body system. Causes a lack of oxygen to the body system. Okay, that what does it mean? It means that whenever there is a loss, okay, whenever RBC is lost, what will happen? RBCs means what? If you don't have blood, you will have less amount of oxygen in the body. Okay, blood is very, very much essential in our body. Without blood, you will suffer from anemia. You will get diseases very quick, because blood is it provides protection to your body. Okay, RBC, WBC, leukocytes, red blood cells platelets, all these are very much important for your normal body functioning. So whenever red blood cells are lost, too much of red blood cells, when it is lost, what will happen? It will cause lack of oxygen to the body. ঠিক আছে? Number 2, a decrease in blood volume. Number 2, a decrease in blood volume. A decrease, decrease, a decrease in blood volume causes a decrease in blood pressure. Causes a decrease in blood pressure, মানে BP. Okay, whenever your blood,
Ma'am,
a
please
decrease,
once more.
a decrease in blood volume, a decrease in blood volume, a decrease in blood volume causes a decrease in blood pressure. Causes a decrease in blood pressure. Whenever you will have less amount of blood in the body, what will happen? You will suffer from hypotension. Hypotension means low BP. Have you heard about low BP? Low blood
Yes,
pressure?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What happens in low blood pressure? Anyone is suffering from low blood pressure, hypotension?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is suffering? Mamuda?
Ma'am,
Yes,
me, Saisha.
Me too, ma'am.
Okay, so you should take proper diet. Okay, anda sanda koni soni khua bhalke. See, whenever you have hypotension, you will feel weak. Okay, more so tomorrow you will have headache. Okay, you will faint. Okay, because why? Because you have less amount of blood in the body. That is why you are suffering from decreased blood pressure, or you can say hypotension. Okay, number 3, write down the heart's pumping rate increases. Number 3, the heart, HEART apostrophe S, the heart's pumping rate increases. The heart's pumping rate increases to compensate for reduced BP. To compensate, COMPENSATE, to compensate for reduced blood pressure. To compensate for reduced blood pressure. So it is obvious that if your blood pressure is decreased, what will happen? Your heartbeat, it will be fast. Your heart's beating rate will increase. Why it will increase? So that it can compensate your blood loss, and because of your reduced blood pressure, heart pumping rate will automatically increase. Okay, the last point you write, the force of the heartbeat. The force of the heartbeat, the force of the heartbeat is reduced. The force, F-O-R-C-E, the force of the heartbeat is reduced since there is less blood to pump. Since there is less blood to pump. If you have less amount of blood in the body, obviously how will your body function normally? How will your heart be able to pump properly? So what will happen? The force of the heartbeat. Okay, you know the normal pulse rate is between 70 to 80 beats per minute. So what will happen? The force of the heartbeat will gradually decrease. Why it will decrease? Because of reduced or less amount of blood in the body. Blood নাই যদি আৰু how will it function properly? How will your heart function properly? Not only your heart, how will your system, the
Point
whole,
আকৌ এবাৰ কৈ দিয়ক।
কোনটো last point?
Ma'am, 3 নম্বৰটো।
The heart's pumping rate, the heart's pumping rate increases. The heart's pumping rate increases to compensate for reduced blood pressure. To compensate for reduced blood pressure. To compensate for reduced blood pressure. ঠিক আছে? Okay, so this much for
Ma'am,
today.
please
Okay.
repeat last point. Number 4.
Last point. Acha,
Yes.
the force of the heartbeat. The force, F-O-R-C-E, the force of the heartbeat is reduced. Force of the heartbeat is reduced, R-E-D-U-C-E-D, reduced, since there is less blood to pump. Since there is less blood to pump. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Since there is less blood to pump in the body, what happens? Even the heart the beating force will automatically decrease because there is no blood to pump in the body. Okay, because of hemorrhage. Hemorrhage itself means bleeding. Too much of bleeding is also not good. Okay, like in arterial, its parts, the force is so, the the stream is so forceful. Okay, in arterial bleeding. So hemorrhage is all about bleeding. So the other things, general management and management, we'll discuss in the next class. Okay. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hmm. You can leave the meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hmm.